What's the second deadly sin? Envy. Envy, envy. Here's a quote from Gore Vidal, the American novelist, died just a couple years ago. Here's Gore Vidal. When a friend of mine succeeds, something in me dies. I love that because it's so honest, isn't it? It's so honest. Mind you, it's when a friend of mine, if some enemy of mine, or some person I barely know, but especially when a friend of mine succeeds, something in me dies. Or turn that around, you've got what the Germans call Schadenfreude, right? Which is when something bad happens, especially to a friend, and I rejoice in that. Now, guilty as charged, fellow sinners, fellow envious. When a friend of mine succeeds, when a friend of mine has trouble, I kind of get a kick out of it. See, that's envy. I would say, gosh, look at the Bible over and over again. Cain, jealous of Abel. Jacob, jealous of Esau. The brothers of Joseph, jealous of Joseph. Saul, jealous of David. The other disciples, jealous of James and John. Up and down the Bible, envy is a driving force of the biblical narratives. Look at it in literature and film. Brutus and Cassius, envious of Caesar. Iago, envious of Othello. Macbeth, envious of Duncan. There's my high-level Shakespeare references. But look all through film, how often the narrative is driven by envy. Look at our own little soap operas, right? I'm talking about our lives. How often they're driven by the engine of envy. Envy's a daughter of pride, isn't it? It's a daughter of pride. If I'm not worried about who's first in the bus, I don't get envious. If I just have the window open, I'm looking out and taking in the world. If I'm looking at that bug and finding delight in it, if I'm like Homer and the simplest thing makes me burst out of my skin with joy, then I'm not worried about what other people are doing or not doing. See, envy is a daughter of pride. Something when I discussed this with priests. In the Middle Ages, the spiritual master said the worst type of envy is invidia clericalis. That means clerical envy. The priest world, and I know about that, but I think in most of our worlds, envy is a pretty serious problem. Here's something in Dante I love. Oh, look I see John Paul over there, beautiful, huh? Your statue of John Paul, that's lovely. We have a new chapel at Mundelein where I'm the rector, dedicated to John Paul, and I had the opportunity just yesterday to reverence a first-class relic, the little vial of his blood was brought to the chapel. So I'm just struck by seeing him there. What's the antidote to envy, everybody? What's the lively virtue? It's admiration. Admiration. See, here's the theological truth behind all this. Nothing we have that we've not been given. St. Paul said that. What do you have, you people? What do you have that you've not been given? Your talents, a gift from God. Your body, your passions, your mind, your creativity, your energy, all of it is a gift from God. So why do you boast, Paul says? Why do you get hung up on what you've got, what he doesn't have, what he's got, what you don't have? All of it is a gift. Therefore, the proper response is to admire and give thanks for that gift, whether it comes to another or comes to you. The worst thing we do is somehow think, well, I got all this coming to me. I've earned it. Through my hard work. Yeah, but man, who gave you the capacity for hard work? Through my intellectual achievement. Yeah, but who gave you your mind? Who sustains your mind and animates it every second but God? Once you let that truth sink in, you stop playing the game of envy. He's getting more than he deserves. I'm not getting what I deserve, et cetera, et cetera. Think of the energy and time we waste on that, right? How much time we waste on that sort of thing. Instead, admire the good wherever you find it. Here's some practical advice now to get admiration in your life, get envy out of it. Go out of your way in the remainder of this Lent to praise somebody you're envious of. Now, I know everyone in this room, myself included, we can all name someone right now, right, that we're envious of. Put that person in your mind's eye right now. Before Lent is out, find some way to praise that person. Don't take schadenfreude, like when something goes bad, you rejoice. Don't let something in you die when he succeeds, but rather take the initiative and praise that person. Secondly, simply stop the completely unhelpful practice of comparison. Boy, the spiritual energy wasted on comparison. Just stop it. When you find yourself doing it, cut it out. Do something else. Stop it. This is in Dante. The envious are on the second level of the mountain. You know how they're punished? You know, in the Middle Ages when they had these hawks that would fly, do hunting, and they would sew the eyelids of the hawk shut, and it would, I don't know how all that worked, but they would sew their eyelids shut. That's how Dante punishes the envious, is their eyelids are sewn shut. Why? Because they would spend their whole life looking. Who's doing better than I am? Who's got more than I am? Forget about that. Stop looking. Cut it out. Here's the Marian counterexample. So in Dante, every level has a Marian counterexample where Mary exemplifies the virtue. I love this. It's the wedding feast at Cana. Now, why? Well, Mary's there, and they're out of wine, she hears. Well, see, what do we sinners do with information like that? Oh, good, they're out of wine. My wedding was better than theirs. What a bunch of idiots. I'll spread the word around. They ran out of wine. But instead, what does Mary do? Is she says to her son, could you do whatever he tells you and help them? In other words, she responds positively, not taking advantage of their misfortune, but trying to address it. There's the antidote to envy. Okay. Third deadly sin. Oh, before I forget, I'm sure there's some in this room old enough. One of the ways to remember the deadly sins, who remembers Gilligan's Island? Anyone remember Gilligan's Island? A lot of you, the kids today probably don't, but when I was growing up, that was the big show. The 7 characters on Gilligan's Island are the deadly sins. So the first one's a little bit of a stretch. Poor Mrs. Howell, they identify with pride because she was kind of preoccupied. Envy was Mary Ann. Remember, she's envious of Ginger. Anger is the professor, always gets angry at Gilligan. Sloth is Gilligan, who's always lazing around. Avarice, Mr. Howell, right, with all the money. Gluttony, the skipper. And lust, Ginger. So if you want to remember them, think of the Gilligan's Island characters. That's the one thing you remember, I know from my talk, is that's okay.